the big thing that's happening this weekend at Darlington Raceway, not only is it the Southern 500, but it's the beginning of the NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs. Our playoffs field is set for the 2025 season, and let's run down through that real quick here. Kyle Larson and William Byron are your two leaders, tied at 2,032 points, as you see right there up on your screen right now. Denny Hamlin at 2029, third. Ryan Blaney's fourth. Christopher Bell, Shane Van Gisbergen, and seventh will be Chase Elliott. Briscoe, 8th. Bubba Wallace, 9th. Austin Cindric, 10th. Chastain, 11th. Joey Logano, 12th. Joey Logano, the last driver above the cut line, only +1 entering Darlington Raceway. And then the 4 drivers that are under the cut line, Josh Berry, Tyler Reddick, Austin Dillon, and Alex Bowman. So we got a pretty interesting playoff field here. I feel like we don't have too many surprise winners in here. Maybe an Austin Cindric, Josh Berry, and then the Austin Dillon, obviously. But what do you make of this year's playoff field and given the schedule that we got coming up?
I would love to have seen the playoff selection of racetracks been different. I like the fact that we changed up a few of those. I've read the comments about different drivers, even the question you asked Chase, I think, about the super speedways being in the playoffs, and every driver you question, everybody you ask has a different answer as to where they need to go and where these races need to be held at. Definitely a broad array of answers on everything across the board on this. To me, I think we've got to utilize what we've got. We've got 3 races coming up and 4 drivers that will be eliminated, correct?
Yes, so Darlington, Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway, and then Bristol Motor Speedway are the next 3 races, and that'll make up the round of 16.
All right, if you try to logically think through this, you think, well, who are the given the Pist races, who have we seen the run their best there, who has the most trouble there, and it does come down to tracks that drivers like or dislike. Sorry, it does. It comes down to that.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. You finish.
No, but anyway, with the racetracks you got coming up, you'll have to look at who's had the most luck there, best finishes there, do the best there, like the tracks the best, and then select the drivers from those 3 that you'll think will do the worst. And that would be the 4 that 4 drivers that I feel like that you could possibly eliminate, but I don't think it's going to come to that because we've had kind of a shake-up year anyway. And as it's gotten through the year, I've seen more and more things, excuse me, trying to kind of shake up a little bit differently. And I've seen the drivers that maybe Harvick and other drivers have said will be the first 4 eliminated. And I don't know if I go along with that, and it's too early to tell, but we just got to take what we got, deduce from that what we think, and give our best guess scenario. That's all we can do.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. You mentioned drivers not liking tracks. We saw SVG 4 wins on the season this year, all coming at road courses, and there's only one road course in the playoffs. That's being the Roval. That's the round of 12 cutoff race. So that's actually at the end of the next round. Now, let's just take SVG because season is rookie, first full-time season with Trackhouse Racing in the Cup Series. 4 race wins, only road courses. People were talking about, does he make a championship 4 run given how the schedule goes? I think with SVG, and let's just look at him for right now. He's going to have to make it out of this round of 16. That's obvious. But one thing, and he said he's told the media before, he does not like Bristol Motor Speedway. He does not like that track. That's the round of 16 cutoff race. I feel like out of anything, this round's all ovals. There's no super speedways. It's a short track, Darlington, which is a tough track, and then you got Gateway as well. I think with that, it's going to be very tough for him to get out of this round. Even though, when you look at it, he's what? plus 15 on the cut line, sitting in sixth. It's a thin margin. I don't know if he makes it out of this round. I think he would have a good shot at winning the Roval in the next round and maybe see what happens at Talladega. But I think it's going to be tough for him to get out of round of 16. I think it comes down to see how he does at Bristol.
Another thing you have to factor in, and I was just sitting here thinking that among this, you've got racetracks for people who don't have a lot of points, which SVG, the ones that are at the cut line or below the cut line, you have to factor in the part where, let's just take Hendrick's cars, for example, and the tracks that they do the best on. Okay, so if one of these tracks are one of the tracks that they are good on, which pick out Bristol. They run good at Bristol. Hamlin runs good at Bristol.
Kyle Larson's won the last 2 races at Bristol and has led like 890 laps at Bristol in the last between.
Okay, so this doesn't factor well for me for SVG or the drivers close to the cut line, because if you have to get in by points, you are up the creek when you got drivers that are high on the points list, like Larson, that wins Bristol, and now you are not a winner and you've lost more points. You're in trouble.
Yeah, you are. And I think, we I jokingly always talk about how we won on the Charlotte Oval a few weeks ago in the Legends race. And that, you know what? New Hampshire's in the round of 12, so maybe he has a shot at, I don't know. I compare it to that because of how flat those short ovals are, the small track at Echo Park Speedway and what you see at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
But if he don't win one of these 3, he's going to have to do extremely well to keep himself above some of these other drivers that are around him in points. He's going to have to do extremely well.
Yeah, and he will have to. I mean, we look at the Roval, but that's in the round of 12. He has to get to that next round. So it'll be we're going to have to see how things unfold with SVG. Yep. I think Darlington's going to be a big test. I mean, he led a couple laps at Daytona, but Daytona, there's 44 lead changes. A lot of people led laps. Justin Haley led laps. Cole Custer led laps. So I think it'll be tough. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what SVG has.
All right, in your points, who are the last 4 in your points right now going into these playoffs? Who is the bottom 4 drivers right now?
Well, you just read my mind because I was about to segue to that. But, we're talking about SVG. I think it's going to be tough for him to advance. And I look at the playoff standings. Josh Berry's under the cut line going into this one. Tyler Reddick's under the cut line. Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman as well. I say we see, we'll put SVG under the cut line.
Because who of those drivers has the ability to be able to better themselves in these next 3 races? And obviously Bowman does. Whether he does or not, he's definitely with the organization that has a lot of success at a lot of these tracks, and the ability to move himself above the cut line.
Yeah, I think there's a chance for Bowman. I think Hendrick Motorsports wants all 4 drivers, and we'll get to the Talladega situation in a moment.
Yeah.
But Austin, I think, okay, to put my 4 drivers, I think we see Austin Dillon not advance. I'm going to put SVG there too, so that's 2. I think maybe we see, maybe Tyler Reddick's not consistent. I think he drops out. I mean, he only has 6 playoff points.
How do you feel about Josh Berry?
I think he could advance. He's a good short track racer. We'll see what he does at Bristol in the night race in 2 weeks. I think Darlington might play into his favor. I think he'll be able to point his way into the next round. I think he gets in, and I could see maybe, I guess I would go with Austin. It's tough because Austin Cindric won the last Gateway race, which was in June of last year, and Logano also has been good. I think when you look at it, the 3 Penske cars, I think the 3 Penske cars will go. I think we see Chastain not advance. So I got Chastain, SVG, Reddick, and Dillon not advancing to the round of 12. Who do you have?
I haven't even looked at this. I've been too busy reading about what other people. I guess I want to see some of these drivers that a lot of people have already written off. I would love to see them advance. I guess I fight for the underdog in a lot of this, and my wants and wishes aren't going to make a lot of difference in this. Make no difference in this.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Well, I think going forward throughout the playoffs, we're going to have to cut 4 each round. But how about Team Penske, Dan? I mentioned this in the recap video I did on the YouTube page and the Facebook page a few weeks ago. They finished 3, 4, 5. They kind of had a scattered finish at Daytona, but Blaney won the race. How do you think they go the rest of the season and the rest of the year? We've seen them win the last 3 NASCAR Cup Series championships. They've just done really well in the playoffs. How far of a run do they win their 4th consecutive title? Do you see that happening again? Especially with how they've run the last 2 weeks.
I really think that something inside me, I don't feel like Penske's going to be able to pull this year off. And I may be wrong. There's nothing to base that on either. It's just I feel like that the races and the way they played out in past seasons, as we well know, it comes down to a lot of factors that I can't even conceive how many factors there are in being able to get yourself into a championship. And I feel like that luck, fate, whatever plays a significant role in this. And I just feel like that they have been extremely fortunate in the past years, and I just got a feeling that that isn't going to play out again this year. And I may be wrong. I've really got nothing to base it on except a feeling, and that is all I can say about it. But the thing that I guess I think would, if I were another team, would bother me the most right now, if I'm another organization, is the fact that you've got 4 Hendrick teams in this round of 16 cars, 4 of them are Hendrick, and if they all advance to some of these other tracks that played in their favor in the past or play in their favor that they're good at, this is concerning.
Yeah, I think Team Penske's got a real shot. And to go on to our next topic, and I think this plays a role into it, it's a team game a lot of the time, and you want to put your drivers and your teams in the best situation as the field gets cut down. You just want it to be your team. You want half the round of 8 to be Hendrick Motorsports or something, half the round of Team Penske with Josh Berry or something like that.
Yep.
I think they got a good shot, honestly, because they've gotten real hot at this time of the year the past couple of seasons.
I'd love for it to come down, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I'd love for it to come down to 8 races, to the round of 8, and they're all 8 different organizations that are contending for the championship.
It would be neat to see that, and we'll see how that goes. But one thing before we get to our championship predictions, who's going to win the championship, Talladega Super Speedway. That's going to be a round of 8 race this year, the middle race, so the third to last race of the season. How much of a factor do you think that we're going to see in that one, where that one's probably going to be a team game if there's a multiple Hendrick cars or multiple Penske cars in that? This isn't like what we've seen in the super speedways in the past in the playoffs, where this is just a spot in the round of 12 or it's just a spot in the round of 8. No, this race now, the Yellowwood 500, and coming up in 2 months, less than 2 months from now, is going to be a spot for a spot in the NASCAR Cup Series Championship at Phoenix Raceway. How different of a race is this going to be this year, given the fact that you might have 2 Team Penske drivers? You might have Joey Logano and Austin Cindric, or Ryan Blaney and Austin Cindric. at that point, and then have a Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson and a William Byron. Like, how different is and how much of an X factor are teams looking at Talladega Superspeedway this year, given that it's that race is for a spot in the championship four?
If they can stay together long enough to put that together at Talladega, at any of the tracks we're teaming up together, this is probably my biggest, and it's not an argument, but my biggest contention about the fact of teammates and having 4 teams, even 3 teams, because are you really getting down to the best world championship, best driver that is across the board, oval, short track, intermediate, super speedway, road course? Is this your best driver by his abilities, or have you played with the odds here and you have artificially putting a champion in there that would probably not be otherwise? That is my contention about that. But as far as being able to do anything about it, we've seen drivers of different teams team up together and do well together. I think you're going to see less and less of that because the manufacturers and I don't think the manufacturers like that at all. They want their brand to team together to be their brand. And if a Ford and Chevrolet got together and they were better cars together, I think that will internally be frowned upon. As a fan, you won't know the difference, but internally in the organization, yeah, you'll know the difference, and I think that you would catch heat for that. But we're just going to have to wait and see how it plays out, because we're getting, as I stated before, you're getting in territory that you haven't been in before, and definitely if I'm Hendrick or Penske or whoever, then yes, I'm going to put my people together and I'm going to try to propel them to the front and keep them there and block and do whatever I got to do to win a championship, because it's that important.
Yeah, and I think with Talladega, I think if you play your cards right, if a driver plays their cards right, let's just take a look at Austin Cindric. Let's say he gets out of he advances the next 2 rounds, gets to the round of 8. Remember, he won the Cup race at Talladega earlier in the year. Gets a shot at the championship, wins the fall Talladega race, now races at Phoenix for a championship. Penske runs there very well. Blaney, another Team Ford driver that runs really well. I think you play your cards right, Talladega is a big opportunity to win a Cup Series championship.
I got to ask you, Devin, how many of these organizations, Hendrick, Penske, Gibbs, 2311, how many of them are capable with whatever cars they've got in this to be able to put something together? Because you've got to know that the top 2 would be Hendrick and Penske, and how would you bet against either one of those given the odds that they've got right now?
Yeah, I think it would be very hard to, especially with numbers, team numbers. You have 3, or technically 4. So if we look at it right now, Penske and Hendrick Motorsports, if you include Josh Berry with Penske, that makes up half the playoff field right now.
There you go. There you go. And how do you might beat those odds for 2 years, for 3 years, and that's why I say that Penske's his odds are diminishing each year they put it together, because being able to put these together back to back is becoming increasingly more difficult to do.
Yeah.
And you've got so many people that are gunning for you in trying to beat you that it just becomes a factor that you can't overcome year after year after year. So, but given the odds and where we're at, yeah, you see the odds that these back marker teams, and I call them back marker only for the fact of where they're sitting right now, not for their abilities or anything they can or can't do. But it makes it difficult. If you're that bottom 8, it makes it difficult to think that you're going to be in that final 4 that contends for a championship.
Yeah, and well, playoffs kick off Darlington Raceway as things start to unfold here, but it's going to be a lot of fun to watch the final 10 race stretch here of the NASCAR Cup Series playoff season. But now, Dan, I think this is the segment I've been looking forward to the most, our championship predictions. Who's going to win the NASCAR Cup Series championship this year? First, Doug Turnbull, not here, but he sent me his championship pick. And this is what he said to me. I'm reading off the text message he sent me. He's picking Denny Hamlin to win his first ever NASCAR Cup Series championship. He says he's going to win the championship and lose the charters. Such is life. That's his championship prediction. Dan, I'm going to toss it to you now. Who do you think is going to be the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series champion?
You know, honestly, Devin, I haven't thought about it, but you're across the board as far as somebody that is consistently across the board, been there in these races, and I just don't see Hamlin as consistently being there in the races I've seen during the course of the year. If I were picking somebody consistently more so, I probably still got to go with Byron.
Byron? I like that pick. I mean, they won the regular season title.
And consistently across the board, and I'm not saying I'm not picking. That's not favorite drivers. That's just who I see based on what I've seen during the course of the year. And because were it my wish as who won the championship, I'd love to see SVG win it, only to see what the media, the fans, and the other organizations go berserk over the fact that he could do this. And it'd be a berserko world, I'm sure. But that would be the only reason I'd love to see this. Is I think most of the public, whether you're in racing or not in racing, would go absolutely. They'd have to have therapy after this if that were to happen.
Yeah, I think with my 2025 NASCAR Cup Series championship, my prediction, who I think is going to win, I'm going to go with the driver who just won this past Saturday. I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney. I think Penske is going to play their cards right for a 4th year in a row with Talladega in that round of 8. Ryan Blaney runs phenomenal at Phoenix Raceway. I think Ford and Team Penske are going to pick up their 4th NASCAR Cup Series championship in a row, with Ryan Blaney winning his 2nd Cup Series championship, the 2nd in the past 2 years. Yeah, so that's who I am going with to win the NASCAR Cup Series championship this year.
You know, like I said, I'd love to say that it's going to be a wild card, and you're going to have a winner from the bottom of the deck, because I would love to tell you I could pull for the underdog and it would make a difference, but that would be my first choice, would be an underdog. And as I said, I think it would be hilarious. I think if SVG could pull it off, I'm not saying that he's not capable. That's not what I'm saying. It would just be the reaction from the public as to him being able to do this, and that would be a major upset.
Yeah, and it'll be curious to see. We'll see what happens here in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs this year. Penske's won the last 3, and then previous 2 are Hendrick Motorsports. It's been Hendrick and Penske this whole decade, but we'll see. Yeah. It kicks off at Darlington Raceway this weekend, Sunday night, for the Southern 500.